It's Vondervol! So before we get started, I should give a little context about what this show is. I enjoy movies and video games as long as they're entertaining. I'm no critic, but I do understand the difference between a movie that is purely for entertainment and not 100% a masterpiece, and one that is milking the hell out of those effective little things that make the actual critics go nuts. I don't know, man. I'm just here to have fun. See some stuff that doesn't necessarily happen in real life. Some dudes fighting, doing flips, throwing punches, shooting dudes. That's what I came here for. Not to see how Sherlock Holmes would be portrayed as an old man trying to gain redemption for a case that caused him to be sent into retirement or whatever. Seriously though, you should watch that movie. For this show, I'm gonna try to keep things in the purely for entertainment genre of films. Also, video games. I'll cover some video games. Alright, so one thing before we get started. Actually, two things. One, this movie is really violent, so if you're squeamish about stuff like that, then you probably shouldn't be watching this. Second, this review is going to contain quite a few spoilers because, quite a few people die in these movies. So, yeah, spoiler alert. So The Raid Redemption is an Indonesian action movie about a SWAT team that moves in on a building owned by a notorious drug lord in an attempt to bring him to justice. Is that about right? Yeah, close enough. So usually when I watch foreign films, I prefer subtitles. I know I'm in the minority on that, but I just can't find myself to take the movie seriously when the words that people are saying just don't match the lip movements.
Hey! What you want?
Alright, so the SWAT team raids the building, subdues some perps, and kills some kids. Soon enough, though, their stealth operation suddenly becomes the headline of today's news in the building. And criminals start picking off the cops one by one. After a pretty long, albeit intense action sequence, we're left with only a few officers to finish the job, Rama and the Expendables. So they fight their way up to the drug lord, they take down some really badass dudes, and Rama is reunited with his brother, who was a criminal known to be working for the drug lord in this building.
Aku akan boleh pulang.
Go figure. So if I had to compare this movie to any other film, it would have to be Game of Death 2, or Tower of Death in China, where the protagonist makes his way from floor to floor, taking down whoever stands in his way. The fights are excellently choreographed, and the amount of hits that these guys can take and dish out are just plain brutal. I can't tell you how many times I have seen people cringe at specific moments while watching this movie. It's really cool. It's a lot of fun with some crazy, violent fight scenes just littered throughout. And not to mention the music is by Linkin Park. It's totally seamless. So the old guy betrays expendable guy number 2, kills the drug lord, and forgets how many bullets there are in a revolver. Oops. So they all walk out together, beaten and broken, but with the battle won, as Linkin Park plays them off.
I tried so hard and got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter.
Good movie. So the second movie features the protagonist from the last movie going in undercover to help find sufficient evidence on and take down a ruthless crime lord. So Rama infiltrates a prison to infiltrate the crime lord's office, to infiltrate a warehouse where the guy who killed Rama's brother at the beginning of the movie gets his face infiltrated by some 12-gauge shotgun pellets. Awesome. It's pretty much just like the last movie, except more Tarantino-y. We're no longer restricted to the claustrophobic corridors from the building of the first movie. There's a crap load more stuff going on that we have to try and follow, and there are more characters that have their own individual identities and are basically there to be mini-bosses for the protagonist to ultimately defeat on his way up to the main bad guy. Not to mention the violence is super hopped up and exaggerated compared to the last movie. Awesome. Basically, if you like the first one, you'll love the second one. That's how I feel about it. That's how every fan of either violent shoot-'em-ups or classic fighting movies should feel about it. Some of my favorite movies of all time. See them if you haven't already. I'm sure you won't be disappointed. The Raid films. 10 out of 10.
One thing I don't know why. It doesn't even matter how hard you try. Keep that in mind, I designed this rhyme to explain in due time. All I know, time is a valuable thing. Watch it fly by as the pendulum swings. Watch it count down to the end.